What's up, world? It's Katrina
and Marlena, and this is Excess Baggage,
the podcast where two friends in their 30s unpack all of life's baggage. This episode, we will be unpacking gender roles.
Okay, let's start the show.
Hey, girl.
Hello, hello, hello.
Well, that was more friendly. We working on it.
Gotta fake it till you make it. That's my back to my. I know. I'm getting it one day. Well, yeah, one day I am. We gonna have some audio sounds. We are, and it'll be very subtle, but it's coming.
Okay, all right. Well, what is your baggage today?
I guess I've been. I don't know. Let's back up. Let's start over. What is my baggage? I guess I've been doing these I am affirmations and statements that, every day for like the last couple of weeks. And one came up that really kind of, something like you feel like you just got shanked. I mean, I've never been shanked. I don't know what that feels like, but like, a sharp pain, maybe cramps,
okay.
Comes out of nowhere and you're like,
in my brain.
Okay. Well, that's what I imagine a shanking would be like mad cramps, but like worse because you're like bleeding out of your side.
Right.
So, well, anyhow, I digress. One hit me when it came up on my screen. I was like, whoa. And it said, I'm brave enough to start over when necessary. And that was...
brave enough to start over when necessary.
Yes.
I like that.
I like it a lot, but it also just, I know why it hit me, but it definitely was one of those things like, I mean, of course, but at the same time, I know there's been so many times when I haven't been brave enough to, and I've stayed and I've stayed and I've stayed and I based a lot of things off of history and, things feeling good and not even necessarily feeling good, but, comfortable.
Yeah.
Just being comfortable.
And I'm so afraid to step into the uncertainty.
Exactly. And so I'm full throttle stepping into zones that I don't feel comfortable in. But I am trying. So I'm, more power to me. But I think that the baggage is also just that pitfall that you're like, man, I'm there, but am I there?
Right.
There's always like a measuring stick. You want to kind of take your temperature to see how you're feeling. And, do you feel like you took 2 steps backwards, 2 steps forwards? Like where do you feel like you're in your process? And, I'll say, every day it changes, there's some days that feel really, really, I feel super powerful and really focused and really, into, just moving forward and trying to figure out or unlock what the next key is for me. And, and then there's other days that are shitty. So I just know that there's a balance there, and I'm just trying to make sure it stays balanced and not necessarily tip to one side too long.
Okay. Good for you.
So that's where it is. I just booked part of my trip, which took me a while to do because I just wasn't pulling the trigger. I didn't want to go alone. I still don't really want to go alone, but I'm also just saying like, hey, like this isn't always going to be like this, and you should take the opportunity while it's in front of you. So I'm just going to step into it like that and just realize like, even in certain just, vulnerable moments when I'm thinking like, this is so ridiculous that, I'm going on this, adventure and I can't get one person to commit. Yeah. That has always been, it was, I don't want to say it's stifling, but it's definitely something that makes you think about your circle. It makes you think about that everyone's at different levels. And so
Absolutely.
I definitely have more of a flexibility. And, you know, I am still, you know, without a family not yet. So it's kind of like I have that, you know, I get to,
Accessibility.
yeah, and I get to do what I want. So I'm really going to try my best to look at it as a blessing and not necessarily what the lack thereof.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
It could be great. There could be some wonderful things that might come from it for you.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. But the invite's still open though. I'm still saying it. It's still open. The rates are not that insane, you guys. You know, it's like, you know,
if anybody want to go,
not just anybody. You know, I'm going to vet, you know, I definitely don't want to be stuck in another country just with anybody, you know, It has to be someone that I know. It's like, okay, we're going to have a good time.
Right.
And, you know, one of the weeks I'll be already busy doing something else. So it's like, it's only 1 week really I'm looking for. So, with the travel partner. So, you know, shout out to that. You know, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But what about you? What's your baggage?
I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I'm sure I have. I'm sure it was months ago, which means many episodes ago now. I have just finished my taxes and
wait, I think you did tell me that. You were like, yeah, I'm doing my taxes and then I never heard nothing about it again. So
yeah, I just got finished.
Cool.
In my defense, it was my first year. Last year was my first year as a corporation rather than a sole proprietor. I didn't know anything about how the taxes work for corporations. I also have a very particular type of corporation that operates a little bit differently. And I had been searching for somebody to do my taxes probably since about like September, October of the prior year, and was struggling to find somebody who could do the type of taxes I needed done. And then when I was looking for people, the numbers were all over the place. Like one place like quoted me like $2,000 to do my taxes.
Hell no. I would have came over with a book and said,
I was like, do y'all realize like for a small business, like this is not like a large corporation here. Like we making pennies over here. Like who do you think I am?
No, not for no $2,000.
I think it was $2,000. It might have even been more than that. For some reason, $3,000 is standing up to me. And then other people like were saying like $500. And I was like, that sounds more reasonable. I could definitely do that. And people were ghosting me and not responding and just all kinds of stuff. And so finally found someone towards the end of first quarter of this year, finally got all of the stuff together. I had not been taking care of my books in the way that I needed to be because I've been doing all kinds of other stuff. So they had to clean up my books for last year. They had to like really categorize everything. They helped me get everything together, really figure out what things I can write off and not, and all of that kind of stuff. So finally got that taken care of. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. Once they looked at everything and, you know, all of that, we're okay. So I paid my first estimate for this year, which I'm obviously already behind on. But I paid the first one and, you know, we set up the dates for the other one. So I feel like this is baggage in the sense that like, this has taken a while. I'm very behind, all of those things. But it also feels like baggage that maybe I'm releasing, which is nice. It's nice to be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be able to say like, okay, finally got that off my back because I don't need the IRS coming to call me for nothing. And we make so little money comparatively that like, I don't think they're going to be calling me, but I just don't want no problems.
So, does anyone? Not with the IRS.
Girl, some people don't care. Katrina was nervous. So I feel like I can release some of that nervousness. I feel more confident about what this year's taxes are going to look like next year's tax season. And I've been talking to my accountant because I have an accountant now. Talking to my accountant about, you know, budgeting in the business, setting aside money for retirement, because I haven't been able to do that the entire time that I've been on my own, which is 5 years now, going on 5 years, 4 years, something like that. So talking about retirement, all of these big girl adult things that at the age of 30, I definitely should have been thinking about and doing that I haven't been able to because, your girl was living off of her savings for a little bit. So that's where we're at. We are clearing out some space in the financial realm, catching up a little bit, starting to put some money into my savings again, starting to put some money into retirement, and getting these taxes together so that next year can look really good.
I know, man. I don't even want to talk about it. No. I've been getting it together though. I have my goals. So it's always nice to check off, certain things that you've been waiting, and then you feel like, okay, no, I need to really do this, or it's going to drive me crazy, which sucks. Like nobody wants that. So, yeah, I'm glad you got it done.
Thank you. It was rough. So today we're going to be talking about gender roles.
Yeah.
Y'all can clearly see how Marlena feels about that topic.
I mean, I don't know. The only thing I would say, I guess, for me, I like talking about gender roles, as in there are roles, and I definitely don't want people to think that there aren't, but I also want them to be free to like not subscribe to.
Right.
So, but like, I don't know. I guess we were talking off air, and we were talking about TD Jakes in that video we saw, and they were talking about,
he said a lot of things.
He said a lot of things about men and women, but it was a lot.
Yeah. So basically, if you have not seen the video, TD Jakes is talking as he does, preaching, maybe, I guess that's what they call it, but was talking about Adam and Eve and how sin came about basically because Adam broke the code and was receiving from Eve, his wife, rather than giving. And there's this whole narrative around how men are not supposed to receive from women. That's not what they're set up for. They're supposed to be the givers. They're supposed to pour into them, all of this, which turned into this statement around how we are raising women to be men and we're glorifying them for not being feminine, but for being all the things that he said that basically equal out to masculinity and aggression.
I didn't know money meant masculinity because I thought we all had to live.
Right.
So I don't really know how that equates to, I guess the example he said, about giving, if you have to go and ask your wife for lunch money, it emasculates you.
Basically, yeah, right.
And for me, I'm like, well, on the flip side of that, do you think that women want to ask?
Right.
I'm not going to say we don't.
Okay with asking.
Exactly.
That's what he's saying.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm not. So
because
I don't know.
It is our job to receive.
But what are we talking about? Like, I don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
I think relationships are set up the way that they're set up. I don't know if it's based off of, Adam and Eve back in the day. I don't know if there's.
I don't think anything is set up based off of Adam and Eve.
I know, but I'm saying I just don't get how that equates to all of masculinity and femininity.
I don't either, and I don't think that it does. So there's a couple statements he made in there that were really interesting to me. This idea of, he said, until you create a need I can pour into, I have no place in your life. And I was like, that's really interesting. So until there's something that you can do for me, then, and what he's speaking about is very like breadwinner kind of stuff. Until I create a need, not even just have one, but until I create a need that a man can pour into, then that man has no place in my life, which I think that's ridiculous. And then the other statement was, women have become this way where we started focusing on our jobs and not focusing on so much being homemakers because we've been hurt by men. Pregnant silence.
I'm like, I'm really trying to think about it though. I'm trying to make sure that I say what I mean what I say. I'm just flabbergasted by this. I will say this. When I was a kid and I saw the way that my grandfather provided for his family, I definitely saw that as a role model. But I
Sure.
never looked at him differently when the roles were reversed. I didn't, you know what I mean? Meaning, there was a time when things shifted and more of the, money may have been coming from my grandmother.
Right.
But I never looked at him as in like, oh, he's no longer a man because
Yeah.
of this. Like that things shift in relationships and
Right. Isn't that the reality that
right.
sometimes things are going to shift and
Right.
somebody else is going to have to take on the responsibility?
Yes.
And
Even
isn't
like
that reasonable?
that's like with that joke. He wasn't joking, but like Chris Rock one time said that, like about the tambourine, like in a relationship, like you have to play the role basically play the hand that's dealt.
Right.
And sometimes someone has to be a cheerleader, and then sometimes someone is the lead. And I don't think it
Right.
has to be one or the other. Those
And
things
sometimes it's
shift.
got to be both of us doing all the same shit because it's hard out here.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. I also think he's, of course, speaking from a place of privilege. I mean, he's very wealthy. And I get his teachings and where it's coming from, but I also think that we as a people have evolved so much that it's very narrow-minded to still be saying things like this. To me.
Right. And potentially incredibly outdated. Like just not at all a part of what our society looks like in this moment and therefore not realistic, which
is a problem in itself.
Right. So here's the question or the thought that I had and the thing that came up for me in listening to that, especially witnessing a Black man say all of these things. I was thinking about it and I was like, have these gender roles that he's acknowledging ever made sense for Black people in Black relationships in America? And when I think about Black people,
they were necessary.
No. Listen though, when I think about Black people in America, when we talk about slavery, when we talk about post-slavery and how we started coming into the workforce when we were actually able to have like jobs and get paid, the ability to sustain a household on one income was non-existent for a lot of Black folks because they didn't make any money.
Still is.
Right. And then we look at slavery in and of itself, where men were literally ripped from families, women ripped from families, like for all the reasons. There was no like sustaining households and things of that nature. Like you leaned on whoever was around, right? And then going on to look at, our issues in our communities with racism and oppression and all the things, all the drug wars and all those things that have pushed the men out of the home, welfare and whatever those dumb laws were back in the day. You couldn't have a man in the home, and then locking up Black men. Like, have these roles ever made sense for Black people? Like, that sounds like a really ridiculous standard to be trying to reach to in a society that has not allowed that to be the case. We have not been allowed to be in relationship with each other in that way. Most Black folks, maybe not most, I don't know what the numbers look like in this moment, but a lot of Black folks don't live in abundance in that way when it comes to income.
No, they don't.
So there's
no, they don't. But I think that, I just thought about the 50s, and I thought about that era and how like women were like the homemakers and they stayed home, and it was very like, they go to work, whatever, or they don't go to work, but the husband goes to work, comes back and whatnot. And then I thought about it. A lot of the nannies back then were Black. Mm-hmm. So they had
so the Black women were working
in-house help. Right. In order for them to even do anything.
And the Black women were the nannies. They were working.
Yeah.
They weren't staying home just being homemakers. They were being homemakers for this white lady.
Yeah.
And her family.
Yeah.
So to even be spewing this logic that he has to Black folks is concerning to me. Like, is this even realistic depending on your, obviously your socioeconomic status, but your status in this world and what has been happening in our community for centuries? This is I don't know that this is realistic. I don't know if this makes sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
And are we doing it because we've been, now don't get me wrong. There are women out here who have been severely hurt in many ways by men and decided that they were just going to go out and do their own thing and make sure that they're good. Absolutely, that does happen. But I don't know that that is the bulk of women.
No, it's I
think most of us are out here just trying to survive. If you are a Black woman, especially dating Black men, the availability of Black men is lower. So what we supposed to do? Just sit around and wait for a man to come save us? Like,
that's what's my thing. And that's the other thing. Okay, growing up, I don't think I was raised to be like a man. I don't think about that at all. I think it was very balanced messaging because, or at least to me, it felt more balanced because my grandmother did sort of retire and stop working and, move into more of like, I'm at home, I take care of the household and everything. Although she was doing that already, but, she moved more into that role. And I think for her, it was like not even a control thing, but she felt there was a part of it where, although the money was coming in, I'm sure that she would have felt, I don't know, there's two things to it. Cause if everything would have went right, like in all relationships, things what people fight about the most is money anyway. And so if everything would have went right, I'm sure something, in relationship, there would be no issue, meaning there would be no issue. But if something goes wrong and you feel like that I gave a sense of all of my control to this person and I didn't do anything or I didn't feel like I was prepared when, times changed.
Went wrong, right.
Right. I could see how someone would blame themselves. And so I felt like my conditioning a lot as a child or as I was being raised was always like, oh, you learn about money, learn about this, try to, make sure that you can take care of yourself at the end of the day.
Right.
On one end from that. And then on the other end, I'm just hearing men always complain about gold diggers and saying there's all these women out here to like get their money. And I'm like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I know that it does. I know that it does. But at the same time, that cannot be, I just don't think the percentages is as high as they claim.
Right. I think we are focusing on the lower common denominator. We could be completely wrong. The whole world might be upside down.
That's true.
What we think it is.
No,
but
for sure.
That's really hard for me to believe that is what is happening the bulk of the time. So yeah, I don't know.
I just wish that everybody would just calm down, man. Just calm down. We both, as people, men and women, have a masculine side and a feminine side.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't see why we can't pick and choose when to tap into those things.
Each of those, right.
Right. And not make it a like Set Trippin, Bloods versus Crips. You know what I'm saying? Like it just seems like it's always, you know what I mean? Like it's like a chaotic thing about like, oh, we're raising women to be men. And I was just like, I don't think so, dog. Like no one can afford to buy anything that is making over a certain amount of money. And if we are, and then you get talked about if you are on food stamps. If you do get a EBT card, you get talked about for using government
you can't win for
assistance.
At this
exactly.
point.
So it's like, stop it. It's just, no, I get it when they're talking about women, I've seen things that I completely get, kind of, someone opens the door for you. I've seen someone open the door for you, or, grab your luggage or something and say, oh, do you need help to put this up there, or whatever. And a woman's reaction where it is hyper. Now that to me would be hyper masculine, where they're making it, a thing,
problem,
making
yeah.
it a problem. Like, okay, if someone opened the door for me, I'm like, you don't need to open the door for me. I don't need you for that, And for me, it's like, why do we need to, like, to me, that's somebody that is hurt and has their own trauma that they need to deal with.
Right.
That has nothing to do to me with the typical, I wouldn't say typical, but average, the average human being that's trying to like figure things out and just be. I don't really think that they're trying to beef with the other side. I just don't.
No.
I don't. No.
Not at all.
What I would beef with you on more of anything is how you approach women,
right.
and recognizing that women, we do have our guard up 9 times out of 10 for obvious reasons. I mean, the
because
numbers
we
don't
have
lie.
been harmed.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie on rape, on being, harassed,
physically assaulted and killed.
Those numbers don't lie. And normally it is coming from the man side. Sorry. I mean, that's just, it's
There's
true.
no need to apologize for that. That is what's happening in our
So
society.
I can get that, like if somebody's jumpy, a little whatever, but just like I said, like the typical person, like I just don't, like if a guy asks me like, hey, I got your bag. Do you need help? Yeah, sure. Shit, yeah, take a load off.
Handle that, please.
Thank you.
I don't want to.
You know what?
Truth
That's
be
the
told.
nicest thing somebody said to me all day.
Right. Truth be told, I don't want to be doing it myself any damn way.
It's just like come on, man. Like, it's just, I just feel like there should, like I said, it just shouldn't be no set tripping. This isn't no territory. Like, I'm not trying to be a man. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to be me. And I'll be honest, there are certain things that I'm just like, yeah, like I don't want to put together a table.
Right.
I don't want to, not that I can't. I just don't want to. So if someone volunteers, I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's one less thing I have to do. And to me, vice versa. I'm sure there's plenty of things that men are doing that they're not, I want to see that they're not good at, but something that is just like, no, that would help me.
They just don't want to. They would love to just take it off their plate.
Exactly.
And across the board, it would be nice if somebody would come in and do that for them.
True.
Right?
That's all I'm saying.
So, of course, the mental health professional in me is also like, how does this impact our mental health and our ability to be in loving, caring relationships with each other? When and obviously I don't think a lot of us are doing this, but when we are being fed this narrative that men aren't good for anything but to provide, like, is that all that men are good for? Like, is it ridiculous to think that maybe I also want like nurturing and caring from a man? That I want him to like be able to show up for me mentally and emotionally? And that I also want him to allow me to show up for him. That I want him to allow me to give to him so that he can receive. And so that I can take care of him in a certain way. And like, what?
But it's all cloudy, is what I'm saying. It's all cloudy because they're still living in this world where it's not acceptable for them to be vulnerable. So there's
I know. And that's the part that I'm like, that's like this video, that whole video and so many others like it is part of the problem, not the only problem, because it's only reflecting what's happening in society, but that is a part of the problem. Like, how does this impact men's mental health when they don't feel like they are allowed to be vulnerable and to show up and to not be able to provide all the time, to have to ask for lunch money from their wife or their girlfriend or whatever sometimes, and like be in relationship where they can also have their needs met and not have to just always be providing? Like, that sounds exhausting. That sounds hard. And living in LA,
good luck, girl. Good luck.
Men, so
good luck.
Black man living in LA, like, how is he managing this? I don't know if he is. I don't know if he can be.
And this is why every time I'm asked, I always say the same thing. It's not about me marrying someone black, white, Puerto Rican. It doesn't matter to me as long as they going to be able to do those said things that you just said. And also, if they aren't black, complete ally. Like, you know,
Right.
and so there has to be, obviously there's I don't want to say a catch 22, but there's an amendum, you know, like
Addendum, yeah.
an addendum to their acceptance into the fold. But I just feel like, I don't know, like you said, in LA, no, I don't know. I can't speak to
The
that.
bulk of black men are not doing that.
They're
Not for a 2-person, 2-adult household. Plus, if you want to add children into the mix or whatever, like, that's not happening. And they shouldn't feel bad for that. Like,
No, but I don't know. I have my thoughts. I feel like everyone's been black. To me, black women, I know that we're the shit, but
sure.
I don't know if our marketing, if everything that our consumerism, everything that's pumping into everybody's veins every day, it's all about the exotic look and the fake look and this type of look. And for me, I feel like that's what they're chasing a lot of the time. So it's like, okay, well, and then there's I'm chasing this type of said person, and this said person is doing this, and these are the only types of people I have been surrounding myself with. So that must mean that it's, you know, women only want me for my money, or women only want me for, you know, whatever. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't even say, well, some of them, I guess they're getting trapped with babies and stuff like that. So child support, but that seems like a fairly far-fetched thing to get stuck with somebody's baby for 18 years just to say, oh, he took care of me.
And I'm sure somebody's
and it happens.
doing it.
No. And it happens. I'm just saying that seems like a lot.
Lower common denominator. Like, most of us are not out here doing that. Not when black women are the most educated gender in our race, and the most educated, I think, overall. Black women are the most educated.
And that's
those
not
are the
even
numbers the last time I saw them. That was a while ago. But like,
and that's not even saying a college degree either.
No.
You're just educated.
We are the most educated across the board. Do you really think that we got to be this educated just waiting on a man to come and pay our bills and things of that nature? Like, and are we really out here chasing behind men, trying to be like men and trying to catch them up on stuff? No, like none of this is happening. Not for the bulk of us. Like, that's just not reality. But you know, whatever works. I just hope that we can come to a place in our community first and foremost, but in the world, where y'all just do what works for you, do what feels comfortable for you in your relationship. Like Marlena said, sometimes things change. We don't live in a world where most people can live off of one income anymore, where we have to be able to give and receive. And truth be told, that is way, way, way more healthy to be able to give and receive, be in the masculine and the femininity in different parts of your relationship. So do what works for y'all. Because if that works for y'all, fine. But like, let's be really honest about what this narrative is and how and if it's even serving us, especially as Black folks.
It's not.
Marlena says it's not.
It's not. I really don't think it is.
I don't think so either. But, you know, it might be serving some people.
It might.
It's serving TG Jakes, clearly.
I do wish that, like I said, I wish we could switch in and out of them, and that, you know, if anything, it's not only is it a for family sakes, but community, because it's just a toxic level of immaturity, really, because at the end of the day, like, we're all, you know, trying to be our best selves. And so to me, it can become lazy in relationships to even think that, like, you know, it's just like to even think that one role, like, and like I said, unless you guys have decided that as a a joint situation,
because
I don't think
it makes sense
it shouldn't
for y'all.
Exactly. I just don't. I mean, I've given examples where, you know, like
Right.
the old fashioned, I'm just going to wait. If I'm hungry, you know, I'm just going to wait here until my wife comes and she's going to cook for me. And I always thought that was a little strange because if I'm hungry, I'm going to
eat.
because we're all adults. So again, unless it's set up that way, as in,
listen,
you know
Katrina
what?
can't have no man that don't want to cook ever.
I don't even love cooking, but if it was set up that way,
and
there's something different.
Want me to just be the homemaker.
I might be somebody that be down with that could be down with that, and I would make.
I done built a whole business. We ain't taking this shit under just because you wanna boost your ego, sir. I'm sorry, it ain't happening. You got the wrong one. And I don't want one that's not going to show up for me mentally and emotionally.
And I don't want one business. I want multiple businesses, okay? That means a family business. That means that you're going to take on some shit and I'm going to take on some shit.
Sir,
We're going to take on some shit.
Come on.
You know what? And as soon as these kids is old enough, they going to be taking on some shit. Because that's the way of that, not even though that's the nature of the game, that is the game.
That's life.
That is life. It is what it is. And stop equating this stuff to like sexual favors too. I don't like that.
Don't even get started on that.
I don't like that either. Because no one, you know, anyway.
It's too much. At the end of the day, y'all do what feels comfortable for y'all relationships, but be really honest with yourself about why you feel like this is a man's role and this is a woman's role and this is what it is. And that whole narrative obviously is TD Jakes and church and all of that. That whole narrative just completely leaves out gay relationships, lesbian relationships, poly relationships, like all the other non-binary folks. It leaves out so many people. But, you know, we're not going to touch that. We're not going to touch, you know, the fact that all of these things are also happening in society. And therefore, this is not realistic.
Oh, and I forgot to bring up the fact that I saw a post that was just a group of people. I'm telling you, the funniest things you see online. But there was this whole thing about this young man was sitting on the cover or something. I don't know who it was. I don't know what they were promoting or what it was specifically for, but he was wearing a skirt. But it was like a dark skirt. It wasn't like, I don't know, what you would say traditionally is feminine. Like I wouldn't wear it. Like, I wouldn't wear that. As a woman, I wouldn't wear that.
Sure.
But he was wearing it or whatever. And then people were just like, oh, it's an agenda, man. That's the agenda right there. You guys better wake up. Everybody wake up. And I'm going, majority of all of our messaging and things we have seen have been tailored and geared towards heterosexual people.
Not majority, all.
Well, I'm saying, no, I wouldn't say all, not now. I'm talking about majority. I would say majority. Yeah, in the coming years, like the years is probably going to get worse, as they're saying. And I put that in quotation, worse.
Right.
But, you know, the way that they're like, all thinking like this is going to turn these people gay by seeing other people. And it's like, no, this is going to open their eyes to know that there are other people so they don't offend people. And they are able to understand that there aren't just traditional roles, you know, and I don't think
that stretches further into a conversation around sexuality. And
exactly, which is totally opposite.
This whole quote unquote idea of the gay agenda, like that.
Yeah. It's a mess.
It is a mess.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see all the people in the comments and they were all just like, yeah, so watch out, man, watch out. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. When I was young, I'm sure I've seen, you know, I'm 1,000% sure I've seen women kiss and I've seen all kinds of stuff. I didn't wake up and was like, you know what? You know what I think is going to be cool? If I do that. But maybe it inspires somebody else. You know what I mean? It's not for me. Whoever it's for, it's for. And it's not for me. And I'm okay with that because I know what's mine.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm in a place or a household that's accepting, it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Obviously I personally do feel like age is can be a questionable thing because I feel like we all develop at different ages. So I can understand why somebody's like, oh, I don't really want to explain this to my child yet. But guess what? It's going to happen whether you do it or not. I mean,
Right.
I can't even tell you how many times I was at a friend's house or somewhere else or whatever, and I learned some stuff, and and you come back and you're like, oh, okay, well, that was a new life experience, But I didn't. When I came home and asked about it, I shouldn't get, scolded or what did you say or what did you see? You know what I mean? It's just this fear based. Everything is be afraid.
It is, but it's based in some things that make no sense and are not useful for us today. Like, it seems more harmful to men that we have such particular standards for them. And it's a lot of mixed messaging for women. Like, first it was sit around and wait for a man. Don't give your goodies away until your husband comes. Wait on God, if that was where you were taught. But
they want a lady in the streets, but a freak in the sheets.
And they don't want you to be able to buy your own car and have your own house.
That's
and
ridiculous.
All of that because what did T.G. Jakes said? Until you create a need I can pour into,
I have no place in your life.
Okay. If you can't find a place in my life other than to provide me with material things, sir, this is not
we
the place
got a problem. Yeah, we have a problem.
Go somewhere else.
A serious problem.
Period. All right, y'all. This next segment is called Roses. Marlena, who do you want to give your rose to today?
I want to give my rose to the white people that are trying. I was in a meeting.
Why did you hesitate?
Because I was thinking, do I want to say the ally that's trying? But then I thought about, I'm like, I don't know if he's an ally or not, but I know that he's, thinking about choosing their words. And that I like. So I was just in a meeting and the person just I had expressed to them that I had 10 years experience in my background for work and all those different things. And then he kind of asked me if I was a PA, which if anybody, I don't know if everyone knows what that is, but that's a production assistant, which there's nothing wrong with that. That is definitely where I started, as do most people that get into entertainment business. You either working on some set or, whether it's, behind the scenes, you usually start there. Right. And so when he said that, I think he thought that he was offending me by like, oh yeah, you're a PA, right? Or he said something along those lines. I just I don't even know if my face gave a look. Maybe it did.
It did. Your face always gives a look.
Probably. And I just kind of said, no, I mean, I'm 10 years.
Nigga, like, I've been in the street for 10 years.
Right. I was just kind of like, I'm like, no.
Give me the benefit of the doubt here.
Right. Now, there might be some people in this industry that still treat me
right.
as such. But no, that's not where it's at. But anyway, I like the fact that he corrected himself right after. He kind of goes, oh, no, I just want you to know that's not what I meant. I meant that he like backtracked and said, I was just talking to somebody about, about PAs and, I'm not really familiar with that. He's just like, oh, yeah, of course, you have so much experience or whatever. He's just like backed up or whatever. And it wasn't,
you had this white man shook.
And it wasn't in a way that felt like he was being like just saying it just to say it. He just really wanted me to, Yeah. He really wanted me to know, like, hey, no disrespect.
Right.
And that I like. So shout out to the white people who are trying. I don't know if it's really giving you a rose, but because this
we're acknowledging you.
I'm giving you acknowledgement because we need more people that are able to backtrack and realize when they do say something wrong that they may potentially offended you that would be nice. Not
Yeah.
every time, no. Not to the point where it's like annoying and you're like, okay, dog, no, that's not what come on. I'm not a moron.
Right.
Because some people talk like that where they're just like, oh my God, no, 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 and it becomes this other thing. And then you have to like
No,
apologize.
you said what you said.
Right. Right. So it's not like that. But yeah, shout out to them.
Shout out to y'all.
Mm-hmm. So
Talk
Katrina,
to your people.
that's like basically what that really is. I mean, Katrina knows. That's basically what I'm saying without saying it,
Gather your people.
Yeah. Anyway, who are you going to give your rose to this week?
So I don't know who doesn't know this, but I'm going to name. Like, I don't know if you have heard about or seen the car accident that happened on Slauson and La Brea last week.
Yeah, I saw it. It was sad. And I drive down that street frequently, at least when I lived in Inglewood, probably daily. But now that I don't, I would say at least a couple times a month,
Right.
multiple times when I go down there. I get my hair done in that area. Like there's, I'm always in that area. I stop at that gas station. Yeah. I even I buy flowers in front of that gas station too every time if I'm running somewhere and I'm like, oh, I know there's a flower guy, this lady is gonna be sitting right there. Thank God they weren't right there. But that corner, they usually are there.
Really big accident. For those of y'all who are not in the Los Angeles area or South LA area, Slauson and La Brea, it was a wild accident. It was quick, but also really scary. And it caused a lot of damage and killed people and all of those things. And I want to offer flowers to everybody involved, everybody whose families might have been harmed, who were witnesses, because that shit was scary just to watch on video. I can't imagine having been there directly. Everyone who was in the cars nearby, because that's wild.
I saw so many videos from other people's cars.
Yeah.
That part was scary to me because I was just like, okay, wait a minute. Shouldn't we all still be, I get it. But at the same time, like, we still got to pay attention to traffic, y'all. Like, clearly.
Right.
This is a mess.
Right. It was a lot. And it could have been a lot worse because she flew through tons of oncoming traffic. It's amazing. It's almost amazing. And as sad as that might sound to say, it's almost amazing that it only landed where it landed. And that also that she didn't end up like hitting that gas station.
That's what I thought when I first saw the flames and fire. I thought that she hit a tank or something and then it just blew up. And I was like, nah, that's how fast she was
going. That's how fast she was going.
And I always find it to be so crazy when I hear that drivers in those situations live.
Yeah.
Because you look at the damage and like all the stuff that happens and I'm always just fascinated by the fact that like, wow, like, so everybody died except for you. Sometimes
when you're going the fastest, right? The damage is less on you, right? There's less pressure on your car because you're flying. But I even want to give her a rose because I don't know what she was going through. There's so many stories and narratives that are coming out. It's hard to believe or hard to know what's real and what's really going on. But as a Black person, as a Black woman, as a nurse, post-COVID or in the middle of COVID, I don't know where we are with the COVID thing, but at this point in COVID, like, I can't even imagine what has been going on in this woman's life, how much trauma she's seen and how much stuff that she had going on to even think to do something like that, or to not be thinking enough to do something like that, or however you want to name that. And I know that is an unpopular opinion for a lot of folks because people just don't have any empathy for folks. They just feel like, she caused damage. But her, like, if she never went to jail, her career is still ruined because as a nurse, I don't know that she'll be able to continue or go back to the work that she was doing. And she worked hella hard for that. And as a person in the helping profession who can lose my license at any given day for doing something that doesn't even have to be that large, I kind of feel for her. So my rose goes out to all of the people involved in that accident, everybody that was there to witness it. Or who witnessed it, they weren't there for that. To her, to the families that have lost loved ones at this point, to the people who were harmed, to the people who, had to be around in that moment, and the police officers who had to show up, the EMT responders, and my rose goes out to all of the people involved and all of the people around that situation, because it was just a really tragic situation. And that's tough. It makes me think about how are nurses doing right now? Are y'all all right? And this may not have anything to do with that, but it just makes me wonder.
I mean, I doubt it. I don't think anybody's all right, really, to be honest.
You're right about that.
Definitely not in healthcare, but for sure, I just think on the grand scheme of things, I think everyone is struggling mentally and emotionally because Absolutely. Their lives have shifted so much. And even though you keep hearing these things where they say oh, some man and, she trying to take her own life and all this stuff. I'm like, how do we know that?
Yeah, we don't.
We don't know that,
There's so many narratives.
There are. And to be honest, I see people fly down that hill all the time on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And it, I don't know. Obviously, I honestly, I didn't even really dive too deep into it because of how close to home it was. I just couldn't even really read or even delve into it. Of course, it got to me.
Yeah, I think it hit home for a lot of us. It could have been any of us.
Well, that and it's also. It's just so tragic. It's just so tragic that, I even think about the, supposed boyfriend or whoever it was that, it's
she was fighting
with. I'm sure whatever level, I don't know that man, but I'm just saying, I know whatever level of relationship that you have, even if you cheat on somebody or play, do anything to another person, you don't expect something of some sort of this magnitude. You would never, imagine that. So
no.
I pray that everybody around in the situation just has, more strength. I know honestly, they're going to probably, throw the book at her. That's how our justice system works. I doubt that if it did have something to do with her mental health and different things, I don't think they're going to really play into that. You never know. You would hope, but a lot of times when people get arrested and they get, whatever, they're not looking to rehabilitate you. So
no. I hope that she gets whatever help that she needs to be okay, because regardless of what her mental health was looking like before this,
it's going to be even more trash.
A wreck.
Yeah.
Regardless of why she did it or what happened, a wreck. If you have any remorse in the world, any humanness in you, you cannot open your eyes and realize that you've caused this magnitude of hurt to people and be okay.
Yeah. Especially when there's kids involved and everything. It's on another level, it's on another,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's sad, and, rest in peace to everyone that was lost, and praying
and
for
I
all
hope
of
everybody else finds peace.
Yep.
Well, that was another episode of Excess Baggage.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Excess Baggage Pod. That's Excess Baggage POD. And check us out on our TikTok, Excess Baggage Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and review on the podcast app and Spotify.
And remember to pack light and keep it tight.
For show.